Welcome to another edition of National Church Residences, The Way It Work. Boy, we've got a lot to talk about during this video. One of the things that I would like to share with you is a training class that we had not too long ago, to where all the leaders for housing got together and we started thinking about the tactics that were going to be developed over the next year. And I'd like to just share with you at a high level what some of those tactics are and what you could be expecting. One of the things that we're going to do is we're going to completely revamp the policy and procedure guide. We are going to make it way more user-friendly. It's going to be web-oriented. It's probably going to take us, well, I'm going to guess, a year to a year and a half to get through all of it, but it's going to be a big benefit to everyone. We also heard during that session that compliance was a bottleneck at times, and so we've looked at our compliance group, we've added some resources, we've reorganized the group, and I think that you're going to find it's way more streamlined and it's going to be helpful to everybody in the field. We also talked about social activity programs at the property level. Now, I know many of the properties already do this, but we're trying to be more deliberate in the type of social activities that are happening at the properties, and we're working with home and community services to get that done. We also have found that we have sort of reached a plateau, if you will, on our unit turns. We keep trying to drive unit turns down to a lower number, and we just can't seem to break the 40-day number. And so we're putting together a task force that's going to really look at unit turns and what's keeping us from tightening that up more than what it is today. And finally, we're going to evaluate whether it would be beneficial to have a senior maintenance organization. Similar to what we did with the senior service coordinator, we would be looking to maybe elevate some maintenance folks to a higher level so that they could take their experience to other neighboring properties to help them with things like REAC and maintenance issues and that type of thing. We're at the beginning. We're just putting together a task force to evaluate it, but those are some of the things that we talked about. Well, we're in the throes of planning another National Church Residences National Conference. It's going to occur from September 21st through the 24th here in Columbus, Ohio. And we have with us Julie Fox, Vice President of Education. She has planned all the national conferences that we've had in the past, and I know that she's really involved with this one as well. Welcome, Julie.
Oh, thank you, Steve. We are very excited. We are back in Columbus, which is our beautiful downtown environment. We showcase a lot of what Columbus has to offer, and we will start our week with welcoming everybody with a reception at the infamous Columbus Zoo. We'll be at the waterfront with jazz and dinner, and we'll have a visit from Jack Hanna, see some of the animals there at the zoo as well. It's sure to be a ton of fun.
And then we've got a lot of different training classes going on. What's that all about?
We do. In fact, we have partnered with Home Depot to put together maintenance simulation labs. So those will go on throughout the day on Monday and give our maintenance workers, and believe me, we have a lot of people actually that want to learn different ways, tips, and techniques on everything from drywall repair to plumbing and electrical. Easy concrete repairs and things of that nature so that we can do maybe even more in-house.
Oh, that is going to be awesome. And then the last night that we're there, something special is going to happen.
We do have a very special event planned. We are very excited about Natalie Grant, and Natalie Grant is a 5-time GMA Vocalist of the Year, and she's also a GMA Grammy Award nominee. And after our award dinner and we celebrate our highest achievements, we can sit back, relax, and hear beautiful music.
Tom Schlemmer's last national conference. What do you have planned for all that?
Oh, it is, and it's an emotional time for all of us. We will kick off our week with Tom Schlemmer, and he's going to be speaking with the executive leadership team about how our organization is truly a force for good. And we'll end our conference with Mark Ricketts and talking about our message forward and how we're really living our legacy.
Man, this is going to be an exciting conference. I'm so glad that you're involved with it. I'm sure it's going to turn out great.
Thank you, Steve, and be looking for registration to open on July 15th, and you'll get a chance to see all the different sessions and events that we will host.
Well, now I'd like to turn our discussion to the resident satisfaction survey. As most of you are aware, we sent surveys out to our residents over the last couple months or so. We found it necessary to try and get the voice of the customer, if you will. We wanted to find out what the satisfaction levels were at the properties. We sent them to about 20% of the properties, which was about 64 properties, and we sent them to every resident at those properties. Now you might ask, well, why didn't we do them all? Well, cost was an issue. And by doing the 64 properties, it gives us statistically valid information for the entire portfolio. Well, what did these residents say when they got it back? Well, we're still trying to go through that, but we do have a high-level look at satisfaction. And so I'd like to show you this chart right here. You can see this particular piece of the pie chart are where residents rate the property an A and a B. 70% of all of our residents rate us at that level. But the next one are residents that rate us a C. Hardly excellent, but they rate us a C. There's 22% of all of our residents rated us that way. And finally, we actually had 8% of our residents that rated us a D or an F at those properties. So when you combine the C's, the D's, and the F's, that's 30% of our portfolio that really rated the property in such a way to where it was less than excellent. If we took that 30% across our portfolio, well, it would be about 95 properties where people are rating us average or below. So what we're doing right now is we're working with some task forces to try and figure out what are the next action steps that we need to take at these particular properties, and see whether we can do some lessons learned and best practices and roll that out to the other properties so that we can get those scores up so that people are really, really excited about where they live and they consider us to be excellent. As you're aware, our mission has been to provide clean, safe, affordable housing for our residents. And we're now expanding that proposition to where we're starting to plan for how we can actually take on the responsibility of providing for their health and well-being. Well, to get started with that, as many of you are aware, we implemented the Care Guide, which is a survey instrument to where we first find out who are our vulnerable residents, and second, what kind of services do they need to keep them where they're at, to keep them from going to assisted living or to nursing homes. Now we're embarking on a new pilot called Home for Life. And as part of that pilot, we've engaged numerous properties to try and figure out how do we engage third-party service providers, what kind of contracts do we take, how do we literally get them to where they're providing services at your property, whether it's in Ohio or California. We've got with us Terry Alton, Senior Vice President and Chief Operating Officer for Home and Community Services, and she's going to tell us a little bit more about that pilot. Welcome, Terry.
Thank you so much, Steve. It is very exciting to be here and talk to everybody about our Home for Life project. And the Home for Life project is really a stamp of excellence that National Church Residences wants to assign to properties that are really reaching the highest heights of amenities and services that we're providing to the residents of our affordable housing across the country. So this first project that we're working on as a pilot group is bringing together RPLs and property managers and service coordinators and many folks from our home and community-based services, home care, hospice, and the like. And we're getting together once a week, and we're focusing on 4 properties across the country: Westminster Tower, Mountain Trace Terrace, Landings of St. Andrew in Florida, and Todd's Crossing in Warren, Ohio. And these are all buildings that don't reside in areas where National Church Residences provides home and community services. So we're trying to find ways to bring home care and hospice and aid services to those properties where we don't already provide them. And so in this pilot project, we've really dug into assessing the residents in many ways using the Care Guide that many of you have heard about to identify what the needs are of the residents in those buildings. And we've really had a great time interacting with each other and learning the struggles of what it's like to bring a healthcare service provider into affordable housing site. And we've learned a lot of things. We learned great ways to assess services. We've learned great ways to vet them, to understand who's a really good service provider. And now we're in the stage of actually implementing those services. And there's lots of lessons learned that we're gaining from this process. And we hope that in September, when we all get together at the Housing Conference, we're going to be able to bring folks together and share with all of you some really great tips and tools and program ideas so that every affordable housing community can have healthcare services in their building.
Terry, thank you so much for the information. This Home to Life program is just going to be something that just changes our industry. Thank you so much for everything that you do. We had an employee survey that was conducted over the last, I would say, couple months It was sent to virtually every employee from National Church Residences. In housing, we had a response rate of almost 70%, which is just outstanding. Those of you that responded know that you're being asked questions about compensation and benefits and leadership, even career development and others. I want you to know that we take this very seriously. And we are looking at the results right now, tabulating them, trying to figure out where we need to make changes. We're going to be putting together a task force soon to try and figure out what the next steps are. So I want to thank you for this, and I want to tell you that we so much appreciate your responses. Well, that wraps it up for another edition of National Church Residences, The Way It Work. I have found this to be so interesting, and I hope that you did too. We appreciate so much everything that you do. Have a great day.